Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to your third Java tutorial on functions. I'm going to explain kind of what functions are, why you should use them, and how to declare them. So in this tutorial, I'm going to use a couple of variables. If you're not sure what variables are, and you haven't seen my tutorial on variables, you should definitely go watch that. So assuming that you know what variables are, I'm going to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a function. And you do this by declaring the type, and then so you have type, name, and then you have parentheses, and I'll show right now. So I'm going to do string. Actually, let's do an integer. Integer multiply, and then we'll just return 0 for now. So what this is a function called multiply that returns an integer. So if you see the type here, it's type integer, multiply, and it returns a 0, which is an integer. So I'm going to make the main method real fast, and I'm just going to print out multiply, which it should print out 0. Which it did, as we assumed. So this method isn't very useful. Can't really do much in it. It's not even multiplying numbers. And I'm going to show you how we can actually do that with a function. So I'm going to define two variables at the top. Let's just do static x equals 5. Oops. Static integer x equals 5. Static integer y equals 10. And what we can do with functions is pass in things as parameters. Basically, parameters are something required that you have to input into the function to call it. So I'll show you how these work. So inside the parentheses, this is where you can put parameters. Just like with the function, with the type and the name, you have to do the same thing with parameters. So if we want to pass in an integer, we have to do the type and then a name. So let's just do integer x and then integer y. So you'll see this is called x and y. You may be thinking, wait a minute, these variables up top are called x and y. Is that referencing the same thing? Well, the answer to that is no. Basically, these are just placeholders. They're names. They can be anything you want. So I could just put like toast and eggs. It would still be the exact same. It's expecting an integer to be passed in. So what we can do with these two values we're going to pass in, we can just return toast times eggs. And then we'll call that method and pass in our x and y. So this should print exactly what we think, 5 times 10, which should be 50. I forgot to print it out. Print that out real fast. And yep, we got 50 just as we thought. So why exactly would you use functions? Well, functions are very helpful to reuse code across your program. If you wanted to do something multiple times through your application, instead of having to rewrite it multiple times, you would just use one function and call that function. And this will mean you have a lot less code and it's a lot more readable. So you can also use functions inside functions. So let's make another one, like called double or something. Double numbers, and then we're gonna pass in more numbers again. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna return multiply x y times 2. So it's gonna multiply these two numbers together, and then we're gonna multiply that by 2. And we can just call double numbers x and y, which this x and y is referring up here to these variables that we defined. and this should print out 100. I forgot to print it again. Oh, also you can save this to a variable too. You can save functions to a variable. So I save that to a variable called value. I'm going to print out value now. And it printed out 100 just like we thought. So I'm going to talk about a couple different types of functions. Basically, you have your functions that have to return something, like our multiply function, which we had x, y, which have to return an integer because it is type integer. But you can also have methods which are called void methods, which don't have to return anything. So we can do like print dog or something. And then we can just do system.out.print line dog inside of that method. And then in here we can just call that method here. And it should print out dog, which it did. So yeah, you have your methods that have to return something, and then you have your methods that don't return anything. Anyway, that should about cover it. Hopefully you learned something from this tutorial, and hopefully I see you in the next one. Thanks.